Hi, I'm Rachel Lankester, and this is the Magnificent Midlife podcast. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started. And the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife, about issues that matter, and sharing fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now's our time. Hello, it's just me again. Goodness, it came round quickly this time. I can't quite believe it. I'm in a different place with this podcast, definitely from last time. Things are really beginning to ease up, it feels like, with COVID here. I actually went out for Sunday lunch today. I haven't done that in over a year. So we went to our local pub and we sat in the garden and I had roast lamb. It was delicious. Oh my goodness. And the sun shone. It's a bank holiday weekend and it just feels different. Yeah, it feels good. And then we walked around the park and it was just lovely to hear other people's noise, you know, when you're shut away at home and you only hear your family, but to hear just random strangers laughing in the park was really nice. So I really enjoyed that. And it's been a big few weeks for me as well, just the last fortnight. So my son graduated. I can't believe that. He's now a graduate computer scientist. Excuse the proud mom moment. I am proud as punch. And he had to do his last year completely remotely. And he had to juggle 3 time zones to do it. And it was all bonkers and crazy, but he's done it. He's done it and he's passed and he's got a good degree. And yeah, these youngsters, they're resilient, aren't they? They can do great things. I know I've mentioned in the past on this podcast that I've been writing a book. Somebody actually messaged me the other day and said, I'd heard you on the podcast talking about your book and where is your book and I want to buy your book. And I was like, wow, you want to read my book? Well, I finished the second draft, having procrastinated forever on it. I've sent it to my editor and now I have to wait. I mean, what's that about? I'm not good at waiting, but I have to wait now for her comments back. And I'm sort of, I don't know, I'm not pacing the floor exactly, but I want those comments now. I want to know whether it's any good or whether it's a pile of crap. And at the end of last week, I got my second COVID vaccination. So that was pretty darn cool as well. So it really feels like I've got my freedom. Actually, that was what my son said as I walked out the door. He said, you're going to get your freedom. And it felt a bit like that. It didn't knock me out as badly as the first one. The first one, I went to bed literally for 24 hours and I didn't move. This one, it wasn't so bad, but I was rough. It was definitely sort of fluey, very achy. But by heck, I am absolutely delighted to have had my second COVID vaccination. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about why I do what I do. And I have a bit of an ulterior motive and I'm going to come clean on this right now because I have a group mentoring program starting very, very soon. And I'm going to tell you about that in a few minutes. But first of all, I want to talk to you a little bit about me. For any new listeners who don't know that much about me, I was diagnosed with early menopause at 41. It was a massive blow. I was in a relatively new relationship. I desperately wanted a second child. I'd wanted one since my first was born. So I'd had a hormone test to see whether it was feasible or not. It was devastating at first, although it became less so over time. And in fact, I was able to reverse that diagnosis by making mainly dietary changes, some sort of lifestyle stuff as well, but mainly dietary changes. And that's why I am so keen to get across to women that diet and lifestyle changes can radically impact our hormonal balance and our long-term hormonal health. The reversal didn't last long enough for me to have the second child, so I had to come to terms with the fact that that was not going to happen. And it was a long grieving process, actually. It was hard. It was hard. But more importantly, what I discovered was that I had bought into all of these negative narratives about menopause and women getting older. And it was that really affected me the most, because I didn't see myself as a vibrant, sexy woman anymore. I'd bought into the, menopause is the end of meaningful life. I really had. And as I left the doctor's office, the phrase that jumped into my head was shriveled up old prune. Now, nobody had told me that. Nobody had said that specifically, but I'd got it into my head that when I went through menopause, that was what I would become. And I realised over time, with the help of a wonderful woman called Ashton Applewhite, that I was being ageist towards myself, that I had bought into all those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. And I had created this narrative in my head, and that I was responsible for that. And it took me a little while longer to realise that just because I think something doesn't make it true. Took me such a long time to realise that. But that also changed my life, because I realised that, we may be on one trajectory, on one type of life, and life may be doing this, that and the other to us, but we always have a choice about how we react to that and the thoughts that we have. We can change our thoughts, and we can change our reality, and we can pivot, and we can change our lives. And I got muddled in the messy middle for quite a while. I got a bit stuck. And eventually, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, got my big girl pants on, and thought, enough of this, Rachel. Stop farting about, because if there's something that menopause does, well, I believe there are many gifts of menopause, but one of them is to say, it tells you, it reminds you that you've likely had more time on this planet than you've got left. Now, if you've heard me talk at all, that I believe we just get better with age, and I genuinely believe that. One thing I don't say on here, I don't think very often, but other people quote it back to me because it is mine. I say, we don't dismiss the autumn leaves in favour of the spring blossom. They're no less beautiful, they're just different. So I believe that our beauty evolves as we age. It doesn't diminish, and our power, I believe, just gets greater and greater and greater the older we get. I know that I can have a big impact in the rest of the time that I have on this planet. And at 55, I'm going to be 55 soon, I'm hopeful that I've still got at least another 30 years if I look after myself. And I've got all the wisdom and experience, so I don't see any reason why I can't continue to have an enormous impact. But I'm also aware that I need to get my skates on. If I want to do stuff, if I want to create stuff, then I need to get on with it. But it's all too easy to get stuck. I thought I'd tell you a few of the comments that of women who join my community. So as one woman, she said, I'm experiencing a lot of role transition causing confusion and anxiety. I think that's massive, because we become different, and that is a transition in role, whether or not we've had children, but certainly if we've had children, it's life changes, our role in life changes. Maybe we have to start caring for older parents, and that's certainly a role change. Someone else said, I'm starting with early menopause at 44 and I'm a bit scared that I'm at that stage in my life. That sounds like me, doesn't it? Yep, I understand that one. Someone else says, feeling confused about what to do next. Plus, am I living my life on my terms or someone else's? It's all too easy for us to go on a track because we've always been on that track, and to put ourselves way down the totem pole of importance and prioritise everybody else and look after everybody else. Someone else said, I struggle with feeling invisible even when I'm feeling especially confident. I'm still struck by how invisible I feel when I'm out and about. But isn't that interesting? She said how invisible I feel. She's not necessarily invisible, but she feels it. So that's something in her head, isn't it? Someone else says, I feel like I want to start the next part of my life, but have no idea what that might look like. How on earth are we supposed to know? Some of us might have had a dream all our lives that we now absolutely want to go for. And others of us, like me, we're multi-passionate. We want to try a bit of this and a bit of that. Or we just don't know what we might be good at. Somebody else says, I have totally mixed feelings day to day about where I am. Most of the time I'm excited. My kids are getting ready to launch and I want to make my next phase about me. And that's the crux of it, isn't it? It's about making the next chapter about me, you, us. But we do make so many expectations of ourselves in terms of our caring responsibilities to everybody else. And I think that menopause and midlife is a wonderful time when we can actually start to prioritise ourselves. When those hormones change and we lose a bit of that biddable estrogen, we don't lose all of it, but we lose quite a lot of it, then we can start to prioritise ourselves, hopefully. But another issue that I'm seeing with women in my community is this complete loss of energy. And I think in midlife we lose energy anyway, but with COVID and everything else, oh my goodness, it's no wonder that most of the world is exhausted. First of all, before we can do anything, we have to get revitalized. Enter my Revitalize program. It's open for enrollment now, and we'll be starting the live program in mid-June. So what is it? It's basically a group version of the sort of one-to-one mentoring that I do with my clients. And it is designed to, first of all, revitalize and re-energize you, and then get you refocused and recalibrated to who you are now and where you want to go next. Sorting out problem issues perhaps within your life, looking at all areas of your life, and then being really proactive about taking steps to fix those, but also explore the possibilities for you going forward. It's designed to enable you to reclaim your get up and go and stop feeling like you're wasting time or treading water, so that you can start taking action and create a truly magnificent next chapter. Because that's the name of the podcast, Magnificent Midlife. And you know, there's always an and beyond in brackets. But that's what I want for women. I don't want women to get stuck like I did for as long as I did. I want to be able to get you to the good stuff quicker, to get the messy stuff sorted, to have a plan to get that sorted so that you can get on with your magnificent next chapter. You're actually discovering what it is you're meant to do and who you were always meant to be. So it's a 6-week transformational mentoring program. It combines private tutor group coaching, self-reflection exercises between those group sessions, and also one-to-one personalised mentoring with me. So it's 6 weeks, it's quite intense, and it's weekly sessions. So I'd love you to check it out. I know this is rather unusual. I don't usually do this on the podcast, but I'm being brave because I don't tend to put these things out there and tell you about them, and I need to get better at doing that. So go and check it out. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be running this again, but it probably won't be until the autumn now before it goes again. Go to magnificentmidlife.com/revitalize. And it's the American spelling of revitalize with a Z or a Z. If you want to find out more, there's lots of information on that webpage, or feel free to email me, rachel@magnificentmidlife.com. I like to say that the end of my fertility has become the most fertile time of my life. And I'm doing things now that I never would have dreamed of doing before. Even this podcast, I never ever would have dreamt of doing this. And I love it now. And I'm so grateful to you for listening to me witter on, and for the comments, the feedback I get. Someone messaged me on LinkedIn just last week and said that my podcast had literally transformed their life. And, well, I get a bit teary when that happens. There's no greater compliment, really, than that. Makes it all worthwhile. So I'm so grateful to you for being here. And I hope that whatever you're doing, you're feeling magnificent, or you can see a way to feeling magnificent. And if you want to come and check out the Revitalize Program, I would love to see you there. So thanks for hanging out with me. Bye-bye now. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, share it, and leave me a review wherever you're listening. It really helps me get the message out. You can find out more information about this episode in the show notes at magnificentmidlife.com. That's also where you'll find strategies, support, and resources to help make your midlife magnificent. Get clarity on how to make the most of your next chapter. Help me change the world, one magnificent midlife woman at a time.